Mike is here, sorry. Hi, everyone. So I'm very excited to be here at Virginia Tech. So it's my first time in Virginia, so it's beautiful. So yeah, thanks for having me. I'll just tell you exactly what I'm talking about at the beginning, so you're not super. You know exactly where we're going with this. So I'll talk about myself a little bit at the beginning, my skateboarding debut, a bit more about skateboarding, the history, and then I'll talk about my master's thesis, which is not in architecture. So I studied business strategy, but I think it's still interesting to just touch on it. My Olympic story, and then some learnings, and at the end I'll talk about skateboarding and architecture, but I would love if you have any questions. So I didn't know exactly what's interesting to you, but throughout my whole journey, throughout my whole career, you'll see a lot of it, like skateboarding and architecture really go hand in hand in some way. Some people don't like it, some people love it, but I think it's super interesting, and I hope you do too. So yeah, who am I? So my name is Guglia, I'm 34 years old. I was born and raised in Montreal, Canada, and I've been skateboarding for 25 years now. So that's my very socio-demographic identity. But I think, is anybody familiar with the concept of ikigai? No? Yeah, maybe? Yeah, okay, cool. So ikigai is the connection between what you love, what you're good at, what the society needs, and what you can be paid for. And so I think for me it was very important that who I am reflects what I do. So what I do in general is I build community and empower people. And the way I do that is through skateboarding, advocacy, and just being myself and visible. So I started skateboarding in 2001. My little brother, this is him in the picture, he got a skateboard for Christmas in 2000 or 2001, I don't even remember. But for us, it was just another random toy that we got. He got hockey stuff, I got a flute, and yeah, we just had a lot of toys. And skateboarding was just one of them. I had no idea what skateboarding was, and this is 2001, so social media were not a thing. I had no idea the potential of skateboarding. So I started using it in my backyard. So yeah, and that's mostly what we did at the beginning. Had no idea that there was more to skateboarding than just the practice of it. And then we went to a skate park for the first time, and my dad brought us to a skate park, and I was too afraid to go to the skate park, so I just stayed in the grass while my brother was skating a little bit. I was afraid because skateboarding can be very intimidating at first. I don't know how many of you have skated before? Have you ever, who has ever stepped on a skateboard before? Okay, who still skates? Okay, sick. Yeah. Okay, so it can be very intimidating, and a lot of people will start or try and do it. But if you don't have a reason to keep going, you don't necessarily know why people keep doing it for 25 years. So what really hooked me to skateboarding is how hard it is. Yeah, so I remember getting on the skateboard and falling. That's the first time I got into skateboarding, but I didn't stop. I kept going because it's a challenge. It was just fascinating to me, and my brother told me that you could jump and the skateboard would follow your feet. And I was like, this is impossible. It's physically impossible. And so I tried that for weeks until I could do it. And yeah, it's just, I love challenging things. And we had a soccer ball, we had a lot of things. And for me, it came very naturally. I was physically literate, so I could kick a ball, I could do all these things, but skateboarding was the one thing that I was actually bad at first. And so that, overcoming that was interesting. Then the culture. You have a skate shop, I think it's right here. So the first time I went to a skate shop, I remember walking into a skate shop and being I think this is exactly who I am. All the stickers and just and it was also the first time I saw a skate video. And just like some people doing tricks. And I was like, you can jump on a handrail on a skateboard? I had no idea. So for me, that was all very interesting. And this whole subculture of skateboarding really drew me to it. And then the community. So every single day after school, I would go to the skate park. And that's how I met most of my friends. In high school, I was hanging out with the skaters because that's what skaters do. And yeah, we would just hang out and skate all together. So it became really more than just me, but just like how I related to other people. And then there's the freedom. I'm not a very, I was going to say I'm not a very organized person. I'm a very organized person, but I didn't like organized sports. For me, skateboarding was something I could just take my board and go do it whenever I wanted. I didn't have to have a whole team. So that's the part of skateboarding that I really love. And funny enough, I ended up going to the Olympics, which is the most organized thing. But what drew me to skateboarding is that it wasn't an obligation. You get a skateboard, you can do whatever you want with it. There's no rules, there's no, you have to learn this and that until you can do this. It's really, you're building your own bag of tricks, and it's very creative. The process, yeah, like we talked about, but it's really hard. So just, yeah, it's, there's no, yeah, you always have, basically, yeah, you have to work towards every single trick that you're ever gonna land. But what's also cool is, even if you never, like you work for hours on something and you never do it, you know that it's never lost. It's gonna help you with something else. So skateboarding is a very awesome like learning tool and self-development tool. And there's just infinite possibilities. So even like yesterday, I think I saw someone doing a handstand and jumping from like one structure to another one, doing a handstand, and I was like, how is this even possible? I've been skating for 25 years, I never thought of doing that. So yeah, everyone does their own thing, and that's the cool thing. So yeah, so 2001 I started. 2004 I was already getting my first sponsors, so I was pretty good at it relatively quickly. And 2005 I went to the World Cup, first World Cup. I don't know, is it big enough that you can see this? Can you like read this? Yeah, okay. So that was my first World Cup, 2005, and I got 9th in the world, so I was like super excited. I was one place away from making $100. And if you won a World Cup in 2005, if you were a woman, you got $1,400, and it was $25,000 for the men, that same contest. So I didn't know what I wanted to do for a living, but I knew I wanted to make more than $1,400 a year. So I started questioning whether being a professional skateboarder was even possible, and especially for women. But I kept doing competition at the time just because I really wanted to become a professional skateboarder. That was my dream. 2006, I met this awesome group of women in Montreal called the Skateboarders. Skateboarders, I think there's 13 of us. I don't know if we're all in this picture. But in 2006 in Montreal, there was 13 girls that skated, and we all knew each other. And if I saw another, another woman or another girl who skated in Montreal, I would literally get off the bus and be like, who are you? Like, where do you skate? Because it was so rare. And so our goal was to promote women's skateboarding. So we traveled all across like the US, Mexico, and Sweden, and a bunch of countries. And if we went to a competition that they didn't have a women's category, we would say, well, there's 13 of us, so you could create one now. And we tried to make changes like this. And you'll see this is gonna come back a lot in my journey. This like activist, like Chris said, but not necessarily activist, but just really doing stuff and trying to make change in an industry and in a culture that I thought could just be better. In 2007, I graduated high school. And yeah, I was questioning whether being a professional skateboarder was a good idea. It was in the back of my head, but I was also really good in school and really liked it. And so I ended up doing, I didn't end up, I started by doing a bachelor in marketing. And my family had a business. So at that point, I'm like 20 to 24. and I'm studying, and I have a boyfriend, and I'm supposed to be taking the family business. This is what my life is going to be, because that's what people tell me my life is going to be, and that's what I've been doing. And you can't live off skateboarding because there's no opportunities. But at the time, I didn't know you can create your own opportunities. So I was just following along with what life was, or so I thought. And I love this meme because that's literally, a lot of people don't know that you can actually follow your dreams. And around that same, so I was starting to question whether I wanted to take over the family business. I actually told my dad I wouldn't. That was one of the hardest things I've ever done, because my great-grandfather started this business, my grandmother works there, my grandfather works there, like my whole family works there. And I was the only hope to be like the fourth generation to keep it up. So it's very hard, but I don't know if I didn't mention it, but they sell and repair lawnmowers and snowblowers. So that would have been a fun life. My dad liked it, my whole family liked it, but that's not what I wanted to do, and I kind of knew that there was more to life than this for me. Another thing that happened around that same time is I had a crush on a girl, and I was really questioning my whole identity at this point. I was like, my life went from being very set for me to like a blank canvas that I had no idea what was going to be next. I'll come back to my history and life. I'll just talk a little bit more about skateboarding, but as a sport and as an activity, so you can understand better the rest of my story. So for those who don't, well, I guess you know what skateboarding is, a plank and four wheels. It's an extreme and alternative sport, and it started in the 1950s in California. I don't know if you know this, sorry if you do already, but it started because surfers, when the waves were flat, were looking for a way to keep surfing. So they put wheels on their surfboards and started sidewalk surfing. So that's how skateboarding started. And there's been 5 waves of skateboarding throughout time until today. In the 70s, they started building skate parks, which before didn't exist, but they were trying to find a way to bring all the skateboarders to one spot, and so they thought people would just stay there and never do it anywhere else. And then in the 80s, street skateboarding started, which is what I do. And this is, I think, the most interesting style of skateboarding for architects. So just a hint, but we'll talk about street skateboarding. And then, yeah, something else that you should know is skateboarding is characterized by a very strong subculture that's traditionally refractory to commercialization. So that's what the literature, that word is funny to say for me. I'm French, you probably realize this, but literature is one of my favorite words. So strong subculture, and people, basically skateboarders, for the longest time were really against companies like Nike and Adidas that would like try to take over the subculture of skateboarding and use it to make money. So that's something there's a lot of literature about in ethnography, in anthropology, sociology about skateboarding and its subculture. So that's very interesting, and that's something I studied for my thesis, which I'll talk about in a second. And then there's a strong identification by skaters to the activity. So skateboarding is not just the activity of skateboarding, it's a whole lifestyle that comes with it. Sometimes it's the reason why people travel, it's the reason most of their friends, or not necessarily most of their friends, but a lot of their friends skateboard. There's this whole side of skateboarding that's way bigger than just the physical activity. And then, just curious, how many of you ever got a fine for misusing street furniture? Yay, skaters. Nobody else gets tickets for that but us. This is, especially for street skateboarding, we're gonna, like, just outside of this theater, the first thing I noticed is, and I hope you notice it now after hearing me talk for like 45 minutes to an hour, but when you get out of here, there's a really good set of stairs right in front. It's like 6. So did you ever skate it? It's good. Anyways, so the way I see the city, I see it through a skater's lens. So maybe that's something that's interesting for architects because you're going to look at the city in a different way than someone else will. And so I look at it from, I see this and I'm like, this has a lot of potential. The marble is perfect, the rail is the good height, you know, there's this whole side to skateboarding where you start to see the city as a playground and as something that you can use just for fun. Yeah. Nobody else is using this rail. Like there's nothing else a normal person is going to do with it. So why not skate it? And on that note, I'll just play a short video of Alexis Sablon, who's a fellow Olympian from Tokyo 2020, and they're an architect, actually. So you'll hear a little bit more about.
It's funny because like skateboarding, I guess, always represented freedom. Like school was structure, skateboarding was freedom, and now, right now, skateboarding is so structured. So it's kind of a lot of skateboarding and art everywhere in between. I'm Alexis Sablon, and I'm a professional skateboarder and designer and artist. The way that architecture and skateboarding look at space is, I think, very unique. Skateboarding, because you're kind of looking at these pre-existing spaces, but you're kind of like looking to misuse those spaces, and usually things are so prescribed. It's just looking at shapes and materials to see how you can use that space with your skateboard and kind of like choreograph something through space that was designed with a different purpose in mind. And architecture obviously is, often looking at kind of blank spaces or spaces within other already built spaces and trying to make something new. Anytime you're imagining something that isn't there, I've been drawing my whole life, making things my whole life. I think there's a kind of like obsessive drive. You might just think over and over again if you're unhappy with it, and it's like a kind of work in progress. Skateboarding feels a lot like that. If you had asked me if skateboarding was going to be in the Olympics when I was younger, I'd laugh. Like, no way. It's just surreal because it's really not something that felt like it fit skateboarding, but now at the same time I'm a part of it, and it feels like a huge honor, and it feels really like exciting that I could make it and do that. Part of me is kind of like nostalgic for like old skateboarding, and now it's really different, but I also am like really excited about it. I feel like it's done a lot for women in skateboarding to kind of give us a spotlight and like an equal place. It's made a difference for me, like financially, and for a lot of the girls around me, and so I've seen that firsthand just in the last like 2 years, which is crazy to see it change so fast.
Woo. So yeah, in 2015, then it was announced that skateboarding would go to the Olympics. And at first, from what I just told you, the subculture is very refractory to commercialization, and what's the most commercialized thing in the world is the Olympics. So everyone was against it. Tony Hawk was against it, our president. Everyone, like every skater that I know, including myself, was against it, or at least was like not sure if it was a good idea. So people started making jokes about it. This is a video from Canada. They like made up uniforms and they were like making fun of what it would look like when the announcement came. And then I love this shirt. It says, "Skateboarding is a crime, not an Olympic sport." Because when I was growing up, I had a patch on my backpack that said, "Skateboarding is a crime." And we were like, yeah, we're a criminal. No, if skateboarding is a crime, then I'm a criminal. And I was like, yeah, this is me. And so it came as a shock to the skate community. But for me, at that point, I was studying. I was doing a master in business strategy. And I was, so like I said, I was my route was all set up, so I actually went to a professor to decide my thesis, and I was like, what would be interesting for me to do? Like, what's socially relevant? And like a teacher gave me a subject. It was about sustainability for Hydro-Quebec. So again, something that I would have passed besides something really interesting if I had done that. And then for me, when it was announced that skateboarding would go to the Olympics, as a student in business strategy, I was wondering, people who own businesses in skateboarding, like what do they think about the Olympics? Because it's obviously a huge opportunity. So many, like so much money is going to flow into skateboarding because of that. And I was just curious to know how they saw it. So I started doing, this is a plan of my literature review at first. So I started doing a bunch of research, and I changed my subject to that for my thesis, and I actually got a grant of $20,000 to do my data collection. So as a skateboarder, what do you think I did? So I live in Montreal. I started from Montreal, and I did my data collection. I used my car and pretty much drove across the US and started interviewing business owners, CEOs, and just people in the skate industry to know what they thought about it. So my thesis is entitled "We're Not in It for the Money," and it's a discursive analysis of managers within the North American skateboarding industry. And I was really curious to know, like, so for me, there was an apparent contradiction between their role of manager and their role as a skateboarder. And I was curious to know what that meant for business strategy. So what I found is that managers explained their role using two main discourses. So they talked a lot about lifestyle. So like skateboarding is my passion. This is why I work in skateboarding. It's not for the money. I do it for the love, all that type of discourse. And then there was the money discourse. So as a manager, they talk about strategy and just building, taking advantage of opportunities and stuff like that. And depending on their way of constructing the relationship between the two, I found three types of managers. So nostalgics, Alexis talked a little bit about it. Like, I loved the way skateboarding was before. The Olympics is a bad idea. We shouldn't do it. We should be against it. And so a lot of business owners are just in that discourse, which I found fascinating because you have business and it needs to thrive in a way. Like, you need to have strategies that are going to make you stay in business. But yeah, that was the one profile of managers. Second one were called, I called them pragmatics, but they were very opportunistic in the way that they were like, oh yeah, the Olympics is gonna make me so much money. So they really took that route and did that. And then promoters, a little bit like Alexis said, it's like, we love skateboarding and we wanna make it more known so that we can make money, and then that money we make, we're going to give it back to skateboarding, and that created a virtuous cycle. So yeah, so that's what I studied for my thesis. I just wanted to do a little parenthesis to talk about the Olympics. So at first, I was a little bit against it. In 2015, I was doing my data collection, so I spent like 3 months in California, and I met this awesome group of people that were filming the first women's skate video in 10 years, professional skate video in 10 years. So in the World Cup like rankings that I showed you before, this person is Vanessa Torres. She's my idol since I was a kid. One of the first skate videos I had growing up was her. And so meeting her in person, I've known her from afar, but like we skated together for a couple of months and we filmed this skate video. So this is the part where something that we filmed. It's all, I don't know if you like skateboarding, but this is 3 minutes of skateboarding. I had long hair. And also maybe just from, like, you can look at when I say like misusing public space, because I'm going to talk about architecture a little bit later, but you can already see it in this video, how we use space. Boom. So yeah, went to California. I thought I saw someone with their hand up. Yeah, so 2015, this is basically went to California, was studying and was filming for this video. I don't know if you can tell, but like a video like this takes months to do because every single day you're going to it, like you have to find these different spots, we call them, so areas where you can skate that's not meant for skateboarding. You have to not get kicked out. There's like a whole aspect of it that's really hard. But I'll talk a little bit, I'll leave it for later. 2016, we had to create, so when a sport is included in the Olympics, so now it was official that skateboarding would be in the Olympics, and when a sport is added to the Olympics, to the Olympic program, you have to create a national federation. So in the US, it's USA Skateboarding. There's that for every single sport. In Canada, we had to create Canada Skateboard, which didn't exist. So me and a group of people, because we were afraid that people would take over skateboarding and like some random people would just start creating programs that were not made by skaters for skaters, the subculture that we talked about. So a group of skaters got together and we created the National Sport Federation for Skateboarding in Canada. 2017, I was invited to skate my first X Games. So that was super interesting. And so I was filming for Quit Your Day Job, got back into skateboarding, was feeling really good. And I was like, okay, I can maybe do competition again. Maybe this is, like it started thinking that maybe it was possible to live off skateboarding and not live off skateboarding, but just like, just compete and be a professional skateboarder, like my childhood dream. Maybe it was possible at this point. Another thing I started doing around that time is I worked for Vans, the shoe company, in marketing. So, and my contract was to make skateboarding more accessible for diverse people. So, and it's funny to me that women go in that category because it's 52% of the population, but we're a minority apparently. So started creating programs for women in skateboarding, indigenous folks, LGBTQ plus community. So that's what I was doing for a couple of years as a sideline, let's say. And for me, that's where also I started thinking like the skateboarders gave me so much when I was younger, and I learned a lot from them. And now most of them had kids and kind of didn't skate as much anymore. And I was the youngest one in the skateboarders, so I was like, maybe it's my time to give back also. In 2017, I finished my thesis, and I was wondering what I was going to do. So the Olympics felt at that time like something that was like unattainable yet, or even like impossible, even though it existed. But I was like, is that a good path for me? And then, but I could also, like, I just finished school, so I was like, I could now work as a business consultant or advisor, or like, this is very concrete, you know. And I was like, am I going to take this route or the one that I have to take a lot more risks to do? So what do you think I did? I put all my eggs in the skate basket and didn't know how I was going to make money, but I did that. And a lot of people thought I was crazy because for the longest time, there was no way for women to make money with skateboarding. So yeah, mommy, when I grow up, I want to be a skater. We'll decide you can't do both. So, but it ended up paying, not paying like necessarily with money, but just paying off. I started doing competitions again. I won the first national championship for skateboarding in Canada. So I was the first national champion. And that's when I started thinking, okay, yeah, this is something that I want to do. And that's possible now. So it brought me to a lot of places, and competing just became what I did. I became a competitive skateboarder, which for, I don't know, 20 years, or more than 15 years, I wasn't. So I had to learn how to compete and do all these things. So teach myself to be an athlete. That was really funny. And then I was invited to the first World Championships of skateboarding. So the other one was like we had World Cups, but the first World Championship of skateboarding, it's called Street League Skateboarding for Street. And I remember being there and like, I never considered myself an athlete before. I started stretching at 25, 26 years old, doing lunges. Like I had no idea what that meant because it's not cool to stretch if you're a skater. In the early 2000s. So we had to learn to be athletes, and that was super interesting. I learned to do that with an awesome group of people too, like Canadian skateboarders. But basically at the World Championship, I got 18th in the world, which was really good for two things. First of all, because I was pre-qualified for the next year. And that's the group of people that I was competing with. But for two things, it was important because we knew very little about the Olympics yet, because they were all building that as we were talking. But we knew that there would be two disciplines, so street skateboarding and park skateboarding. Street skateboarding, like I said, is what I do. So it's mostly like things that look like what you would find in a city. So stairs, handrails, and the whole skate park is designed. Most of it is designed with obstacles that look like something you would, like benches and stuff like that. Whereas park, it's more like a bowl. This is a picture of park skateboarding in Paris. So park skateboarding is like a big bowl that you go high and you spin. I don't know where I am after a 360. It's hard. So two different types of skateboarding, and we knew that there would be 20 skaters per discipline. So 20 women street, women park, men street, men park. So 18th, I was like, okay, I actually have a chance. So that's when I decided I was going to do this. And I was pre-qualified. thank God, because the first thing that I did coming back home from that contest is I tore a bunch of ligaments in my ankle and I couldn't skate for 6 months. So all I had to do is go to these competitions and roll on my board, and I was getting last, but at least I was staying in the top 20 for a really long time. Not for a really long time, but for that whole season. What I did is I started creating content around that time. I got an agent because I had to start making money with skateboarding. So I found different ways. I had to be creative. And then in February 2020, when I was ready to come back to competition, we had to do a quick quarantine. The competition was canceled. Remember, it was a very short period where we had to stay home. So yeah, COVID hit. It's hard. I think COVID was hard for a lot of people, but for us, it meant that Tokyo would be postponed 1 year. I lost it in my house. This is what I was doing for a couple of months. Sorry for the sound. But yeah, it was wild times. Sorry, I didn't know the sound was going to be there. So I stayed at home and I was just doing stuff that I didn't know. Yeah, because some countries had, like, they reacted very quickly. They put all their national teams into, like, different parts and they kept training. But for me, I was stuck in Montreal in the dead of winter, just, like, couldn't train for a couple of honestly, it lasted almost a year for that. So for me, it was really hard because of my age. So I was about 30. I don't know if you've seen skateboarding in the Olympics, but most of the girls were like 13. So I was older than their moms for some of them. So for me, 1 more year was way harder than, like, when you're 13 or 14, you're progressing so fast at that age. And I was progressing at a slower pace, let's put it that way. Lack of training opportunities. My backyard ramp is not exactly an Olympic training facility. Mental health was really hard. I think, I don't know for you, but for me, COVID was another moment in my life where I had to rethink a lot of things in my life. So it was really hard. And even at one point, I had a loss of purpose. I didn't know why I was doing this. Like, the Olympics were just, like, pushed 1 year, and I was like, this feels too far. I think I'm going to give up. It was just a lot at the same time. Post-COVID, we came back to competition, and I started seeing a sports psychologist during COVID, so also just reframing why I did what I did, and it really motivated me to go back to skateboarding feeling the strongest I've ever been. So I was skating really good at that time. We had 2 competitions before the Olympics, so now we're, like, in March 2024, let's say, going back to competition, one Dew Tour in Des Moines, and then World Championships in Rome. So I was skating really good, skated good in both contests. And another thing is, at that time too, there was a lot of eyes on skateboarding because it was going to be the first time at the Olympics and people were super excited. So in Canada, I was like the like star of skateboarding. So I was in, like, Team Canada ads. There was billboards. I had cutouts, like goldfish cutouts of me in the grocery stores. Like, it was very funny. A lot of people were very excited to see me skate in the Olympics. And then at that World Championship in Rome, I skated really good, but like I said, everybody was just progressing faster than me. So actually, I did not qualify for the Olympics. It was really hard. I got bumped out of the top 20, and I was 22nd instead of 20. So yeah, just like that. I was in the top 20 for 4 years. Last competition, not going to the Olympics. So it's cool because when you're successful, everybody's stoked for you. Like, you get followers and people are very excited about you, like, your story and stuff. But then when you fail, you also fail publicly. So that was really hard. I was in Rome and I was like, how am I gonna face this, like, going back to Canada and just have to, like, do this public announcement that I'm not going to the Olympics finally. So I did that. I went back home, told my agent. We did a press conference. It was all over the news. They even photoshopped me out of the billboards. So it was a very sad moment. And for 2 months, I was in Montreal, and everybody was like, when are you going to Tokyo? And I was like, I didn't qualify. So every single day, I had that constant reminder that I wasn't going. and I really felt like a failure at that point. So it was really hard. The way I made peace with it, I had time to think, and I just stayed away from skateboarding for a while. I went to Mexico, and just took time for myself. Also, another thing, I only listened to people that I would take advice from. So blocking the constant reminders that you didn't make it, and just like spending time with my family, my friends. And then also I reframed that failure into something that I could be proud of. So I remember one time I was at a skate park, and I saw these two little girls taking a skate lesson. And I started skating, and their dad came to see me, and he's like, "Oh, are you Annie Guglia? Yeah. When are you leaving for Tokyo?" And I was like, "I'm not going. I didn't qualify." And he was like, "Oh, that's too bad." He was like, "Well, if it can make you feel better, my two daughters started skating because they saw you on TV. So, I mean, even if you didn't make it to the Olympics, I'm sure you inspired thousands of little girls to start skateboarding." And I was like, you know what? That's all I needed to make me feel better. So just seeing it that way, like the outcome wasn't as important, and the process became way more important and way more meaningful for me. So I was like, okay, that makes me feel good. And then the week before the competition, I was still debating if I was going to watch the Olympics, because it really hurt. And I was like, I don't know if I can even watch it. And then 4 days before the competition, so Thursday night I go to bed. The competition is Monday morning. Thursday night I go to bed. Friday at 5 a.m., my coach kept calling me. So I wake up, I answer, and he was in Tokyo. And he said, can you go get tested for COVID before 7 a.m.? Because someone got COVID, so you're going to be alternate for the for the Olympics. So you can fly to Tokyo. You might not skate, but you're going to be able to be on the course, and it's going to be fun. I was like, oh yeah. So I went and got tested. I had to go to the Olympic Stadium. Someone was waiting for me. So I took the plane, went to Tokyo, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm excited to be part of it, you know. And then I landed in Tokyo Saturday night. And he says, guess what? We're never happy. But someone actually got hurt in practice today. So you're going to be an Olympian. You have practice in 7 hours. And yeah, you're going to skate in the Olympics in 36 hours. So congratulations. And that was wild, because I didn't even have my skate shoes. I only had Vans slip-ons, because I wasn't ready. But I ended up skating in the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, so my story was all over the news, and it was funny because it just became the only thing that people talked about, because it was such a, not impressive, but just a different story. People had been there working on their skate, their runs and their tricks for 10 days, and I just got there, no practice, jet lagged, you're skating, let's go. So I skated really good, but to be honest, I was so tired. I wore a helmet. You're supposed to wear a helmet in life, but in the Olympics and as a professional skateboarder, you don't have to in competitions. So, but I wore a helmet just first of all to to be a good example in front of millions of people, but also because I was so tired that I thought I might hit my head, honestly. But yeah, it was a very fun experience. 10 out of 10 would recommend. If you can go to the Olympics, do it. It's fun. So after the Olympics, basically what I decided to do, so you can keep going, but I retired after Tokyo because, like I said, I was more than double the other girls' age. Me and Alexis were actually the oldest. So it was me and Alexis, in our 30s, and then people in their 10s. So big gap. But yeah, so we both retired after Tokyo. And what I decided to do is basically use my resources, so my time, my experience, just everything I've gained from skateboarding for causes that matter to me. So my own personal development is one thing. And I put it in there because we don't usually talk about it, but just learning to rest, learning to not be, you don't have to always be an overachiever. I'm a recovering overachiever. So now I learned to chill after the Olympics. Then building community, that's still something I do. I started a series of events called All Girls Skate Date, and I still do it like every month, just creating a space for people to come and skate and be introduced to skateboarding, because like I said, it can be very intimidating, and I was that girl just staying in the grass when I was younger, so creating those spaces was important to me. And then empowering women and girls through sport. So that's what I know, that's what I'm good at. I know sport can teach you so many things, and we know that 95% of women leaders play sports. So just in general, it just teaches you sometimes leadership, confidence, a bunch of really good qualities that you can use in other aspects of your life. And LGBTQ plus safe spaces in general. So those are signs that I make at like hockey games and soccer games. I really like doing that. So my current roles, I'm a human. Nice to meet you. I hope you are too. But yeah, I started considering myself as a whole human being, which can sound like very obvious, but a lot of the time we just do things and we forget to just be. So yeah, just being myself. I'm still in school, so I'm doing a sport management program. I didn't know that you could work in sport. That might be weird, but I honestly didn't know. I thought you could be a professional skateboarder or work in a skate shop. I didn't know there was whole industries behind everything that we love. So whatever you like, whatever your hobbies or passions are, you're in architecture, so there's a lot of things that you can do, but yeah, I had no idea. So now one of the things I really want to do is work in sports, because it's what I do. And I actually just got a new job, so I'm excited about that. I'm also the president of Canada Skateboard, so the national federation in Canada. I'm the president of the board of directors, so I still get to influence the decisions and just create programs for people to get into skateboarding and make it all the way to high performance. I use my athlete voice, or just my voice in general, but just like the notoriety that I got from the Olympics to pass some messages and just to advance some causes that I believe in. I'm a huge women's sports fan. So we just got a hockey team, women hockey team in Montreal and soccer team. So I just try to advocate for more women's sports. And my current job is I'm a communication and marketing advisor for a nonprofit in Canada that works with sport federation to help them reach gender equity in sports. So yeah, just 3 learnings from my whole career. The first one is when you dare to, it's gonna sound like fortune cookie stuff, but it's true. When you dare to follow your dream, you end up exactly where you're meant to be. So if I hadn't taken the risk to do exactly what I wanted, I would probably have a store in Montreal and repair lawnmowers. And that's fine if that's what you love, but for me, it wasn't what I wanted. So when I look at my whole career, every single time I made those choices for myself, it really brought me exactly where I'm supposed to be today. And it's hard to see in time, but when you're able to look at your life and every decision that you make, not all of them, but if you're able to make decisions, it's just, it brings you exactly where you can make a difference in the world. Another one is the process is as important as the outcome. Skateboarding taught me that in general, but it's true. So many times we focus on the outcome and we forget that everything you do in the middle is also a big part of it. And then the third one is be authentic and speak up. And only you can be you and do what you're meant to do. So again, very cliche, but I think you can understand that from everything I've said today. Whatever you do, whatever you're passionate about, like you're in architecture, you're designing stuff, if you keep copying, if you ChatGPT your way through school, you're not going to bring the value that you're actually meant to create. And I think that's a big thing that sometimes we forget. Like it goes to the other point, but if you're forgetting the reason why you're doing this and you're just focusing on the outcome and not using the reason why you're here. Like no, your brain works in a certain way, and only you can create what's in your head. So yeah, sometimes we forget that, and we think that everybody can do what we do, but nobody else can. So yeah, just three points on architecture. Obviously, I'm not an expert, but just from skateboarding. Alexis Sablon, which I showed the video, they design public spaces that are meant for skateboarding. So a lot of the time in skateboarding, in urbanism, they're gonna design stuff to stop skateboarding. But some cities are starting to do the opposite. So for example, this is Lady in the City, I think it's called. It's a square in Sweden, and it's meant for skateboarding, but it's also meant for anybody. And so I thought that was really interesting. So Alexis designs a bunch of public spaces like this that are skatable. And Gustav Eden actually works for the city of Malmö in Sweden as a skateboard coordinator, where the city is actually using skateboarding as, wait, that's this guy. And the city is actually using skateboarding in their marketing to bring tourism, and just basically they're creating all every time they create a new public space, they make it so it's skatable, and so that the different communities can cohabitate, and that skateboarding is not in the way of the people who want to have lunch there. And yeah, so it's just a different way to look at it, and I thought that was super interesting because I grew up being told that you can't be here, you can't do this, you can't do that, but at the end of the day, we're just using the space, and that's what space is for. So Malmö is actually using that as an opportunity to bring people, but also it's beautiful. Like why would you not want, I mean, unless you get a skateboard in the shin, but like that's the reason why you want to create it in a way that it's not dangerous and problematic for other people. And then Ian Borden is a architecture historian, and he's an urbanist commentator too. And he writes books about skateboarding in the city. So I just thought that was interesting to mention. If you're interested in architecture, and if you're interested in skateboarding too, there's a whole body of literature on skateboarding and architecture. The traditional way to treat skateboarders, like I said, was to skate stop. So you've probably seen those. I don't know if you knew what they were for, but they're called skate stoppers. There's this company that calls about skateboarding like we're vermin, and I left it, put it there. But it's deterring the most determined skaters from using your external public areas. So yes, that exists. But I just hope that after hearing me talk for an hour, you realize that there's a way, I think, that you don't need to stop people from using a public space. I think there's a way that you've seen that skateboarding can be very creative. It's bringing value instead of trying to put them in a little box and be like, this is where you practice your thing. And it's meant for walking downstairs, not jumping them. Like, what does it matter? You know, if people want to use the public space, if you design a public space and people use it in a way that you didn't think about, I think that's pretty cool. So yeah, we probably don't have time because we started late. I don't even know what time it is. So I'll go with we probably don't have time to watch. I had like an 8-minute video. Do you want to?
It's 11:35.
Okay.
15-ish minutes.
Yeah, I think let's do Q&A. It's going to be, because also I wanted to have a time at the end to answer questions, because I didn't know what was interesting for you. So especially for the architecture part. So I would love to, talk about it more than just like show you an 8-minute video. That's okay. So yeah, if there's no questions, I can play an 8-minute video, but let's try to have a Q&A. Anybody has any questions? Yeah. Yeah, for sure, exactly. So the question was, because I'm not, that wouldn't be me, but yeah, they talk with architects definitely, and urbanists. So that's this in the city of Malmö, and there's also Bordeaux in France. So these cities are actually starting to change the discourse on skateboarding. So instead of seeing it as a bad thing, they see it as a good thing, and they say, okay, how can we help them practice their sport in a way that is going to be positive for everybody. So they do work with architects, and Gustav, who I talked about, he's not an architect, but he works with a group of people who design public spaces, and his only role basically is to say, okay, from a skater's perspective, like if you're going to build marble ledges, like marble benches, you want to put them in this area, and like, oh, instead of doing this planter this way, like we could do it so it's skatable. So it's actually adding value in a way to a space that a planter wouldn't have any other use if you're not making it skatable or any other. It could be something else, but for me it's skateboarding. Hello. Ooh. That stopped working, eh? I can, because the video was actually about that. So it was a, oh, that also stopped. But it's not exactly about that. But Barcelona is also a city where there is a lot of skateboarding. And the video that I thought about playing is basically it's an architect firm that builds skate parks, but in the city. So it's not the same thing as using like public space, because you're creating a skate park. Like these people are creating a skate park at the end of the day, but they do talk with skateboarders and see how they can use the space. But yeah. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
What structure or material do you find easiest to skate on? Because I know you mentioned marble a lot.
Yeah.
Or to skate on that versus something like stone or like any other type of stone.
Yeah. So when I was growing up in Montreal, at least most of it's a lot of asphalt, and that's terrible for skateboarding. So what they for example, Barcelona. I actually should probably play that video because in Barcelona at the when they had the Olympic Games, so they started creating these public spaces that the ground was super flat and it was very open, and so that's exactly why Barcelona is the mecca for skateboarding. I'm not sure what the material is, but just like smooth concrete makes sense. And then the benches are it's a lot of marble in Europe especially. But yeah, the reason why they did it is so it would be easy for people to walk, because it's all open and it's very flat. So it could bring a lot of people into that same space at the same time, but they didn't know that it would become like iconic skateboard spots because of that too. So yeah.
So Annie, in Barcelona, so if whoever's been to Barcelona, there's an art museum.
Yeah.
In the center of the city, and it's white. It's stark white. I don't know if that's in your video.
Yeah, it is.
So that building is designed by Richard Meyer. Everything around that building is they're older buildings, and they're all covered in graffiti. But nobody tags the museum. Like the museum and the skateboarders have this really good relationship with one another. But the museum lets the skateboarders skate there, and they leave the museum alone, and they tag everything else around that museum. And yeah, I've talked about that to somebody in this room, but I think it's I think it's that's one of the most interesting relationships.
Is it Magba?
It's one of the most interesting relationships.
Yeah.
That I've seen.
But yeah, skateboarders don't want to destroy it, because there's that vision that skateboarders are there to destroy something, but we don't, like, the last thing we want to do is destroy it because we're trying to skate it. So like you'll see skaters, if they're skating a marble ledge and it breaks, we'll come back with Bondo and like fix it, you know, because we don't want it to break. We want people to be able to use it. It's the same with, well, I don't know if it's the same, but if like hunting, if you're hunting, you don't want to destroy nature. you want to be able to keep hunting, if that makes sense. I don't know if that's a good parallel, but just in general, like you're not gonna want to destroy what you're. So if I'm skating a handrail and it breaks, like I'll try to fix it for the next person to be able to skate it, or for me to come back to skate it. Yeah. I should. Or, oh yeah, sorry. Sorry. My favorite trick. It's called frontside flip. That would be that's my, like, if I wake up in the morning and I'm like in a morning show, like I have to be on TV and I have to do one trick, it's gonna be frontside flip because I can do that when I wake up. It's like my go-to trick, I'll say. And I think it looks really good. I really like it. Yeah.
If you like had the opportunity to design like an urban skate space in your hometown, like what would you design?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I think it would look something like what Alexis does, because just like benches, you can find that already, but I would love to create something that you might find in a skate park, but you would never find in a street environment. And another thing is skateboarding is very visual. So I would love for it to be like, I love that pink thing that they, like I just think it looks cool. You see it. If you're not a skateboarder, you walk past it, you're like, what is this? Like you don't see it as something that you could do something on. Whereas like, so yeah, I would love to create something like that. That's also accessible for most people. Like not something that only professional skateboarders can skate, but yeah, something that has kind of different shapes and different angles, so that like you can do different things on any side, if that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah?
We were talking about like people are starting to build like spaces in cities and stuff that are designed to be skatable.
Yep.
Would you prefer to go somewhere like that, or is half the fun like finding the hidden spots?
That's a really good question. So is it more fun to go to a space that's built for skateboarding, even though it's like still in the street, or would you rather find hidden spots that are illegal? Not necessarily illegal, you didn't say that. But for me personally, like I think the part that it's not designed for skateboarding is super fun. Like I loved, when I was a teenager, I loved chasing spots and like trying to find them. And when we were filming for Quit Your Day Job, there's application, like there's apps where you can like, people take photos of spots and like exactly like how much time it's gonna take before you get kicked out. Like, so that part is fun, but at the same time, I think those types of things make skateboarding more accessible, because for a long time, only the people that were willing to go through all of this would keep skating. And that's why in this room, like there's maybe 3 of us. Whereas like, I think if you at least create those opportunities for people, then there's more chances that you're gonna have skateboarders keep skating and just, yeah, have fun. So for me, it would be, like, for me, I love this, but I talked about this yesterday with someone and they were like, I don't like it. I like going to street, like when it's not meant for it, so, yeah.
Was it hard to like grow like the Canada skateboard? Like, cause you said like you started, was it hard to grow it into like a national organization?
Yeah, it's so much work to create a national federation. I had no idea what I was getting myself into at the time. And at the time, I was the athlete representative. So I wasn't doing most of the heavy lifting work when we started it. I was part of the board of directors and I was making decisions, but I wasn't doing the heavy work. Whereas right now, so I've been the president of Canada Skateboard for 3 years. And for 3 years, I've put about 30 to 40 hours a week. Like it's volunteer position. So that's why, that's what I did with most of my time. I wasn't making any money with it, but for me, it was important to give back and we have one shot at structuring something like this, because once you create something, it becomes institutionalized and it's super hard to change. So when you create like a national sport federation, it's going to be this way for 50 years. So might as well get it right at the beginning. So that's why I put in so much effort. It's actually my last year because I've been on the board of directors for 10 years now. So I'm ready to like give it to someone else. But yeah, it was way more work than I thought because I talked about it too. But skateboarding was not structured at all. So think of it like running. Like so many people run. You don't know how many people run. You can start running USA and try to have clubs and try to have like programs for people to run. Most people are not going to go through a club. They're just going to skate on their own. So skateboarding is a bit the same. Not everybody needs programs, but I think it creates this whole new path for people to follow. If they want to, they can subscribe with the club and have coaches and like all that stuff. But it doesn't change anything from skateboarders who just want to do it on their own on a Saturday and like so for me it's it's complementary. It's not like changing the whole structure of skateboarding like we were afraid of at the beginning. Yeah.
So what do you think that is the importance to be a young woman activist?
Yeah.
And what you have learned from that?
I missed the beginning of the question.
What do you think is the importance to be an activist?
Yeah.
Young woman.
Yeah.
And what you have learned from that?
Yeah. So when I think about like the whole Olympic experience, what I remember and what I think was the most important is not necessarily like how I skated and stuff like that. It's what you do with it, I think, at the end of the day. And that dad that told me like, oh, my daughter started skateboarding because they saw you on TV, it just made me realize how important it is to be visible, just in general, and talk about those things and talk about, like, when I was growing up, there was maybe like 2-3 women skaters across the world, but they were not visible. So I had no idea they existed. But now with social media actually really changed, really democratized what people can see. So I think it's a really good opportunity to be visible and to be out there and be a role. I don't want to say like, oh, I'm a role model for people, but I'm just doing my own things. And if that's inspiring to some people, I think that's cool. So that's the way I see it, and that's how I approach it for me. Yeah, just giving back, being the person you wish you had when you were younger. It's very, I think it's important. For me, it is. Yeah?
Do you prefer to skate in like unconventional places or
Skate in what?
do you prefer to skate in unconventional places or like skate specific areas?
Like if conventional area is like a skate park and unconventional area is street, I prefer street skating. But I also think that, so for me a skate park is not like, oh, so you're a skateboarder, you skate in a skate park. So like for me, I love skate parks and that's where I go to learn tricks so that I can go in the street and do them there. So for me, it's kind of like just it's the tool to like learn tricks, and then I'm like, okay, I'm working on a trick in a skate park, and then I know where I want to film it and who I'm going to film it with and when, and like, so there's that whole plan that goes with it. So yeah, that's what I say I like, but that's what most skaters do. Yeah. Yeah.
So you showed how like Malmo and Barcelona are like this like pro skater like architecture.
Yeah.
I mean, you toured like the U.S. in car. Do you see this happening across like more cities in America?
I say no. I don't think so. I haven't heard of it in like the U.S. And it's starting in Montreal. So, but you need to have people in play. Like, change happens because people start doing stuff. So I don't know if maybe in some cities there is in the U.S., but I know like in Montreal, there's this one guy that's super passionate about it's a public space called Peace Park. So it's hard to explain. From a skater's perspective, it's like marble ledges shaped as a U, like a big U. It's just like nobody uses that space but skateboarders. So now he worked with the city. I think it took 10 years, and now it's legal to skate there. There's you know the no skateboarding sign, it says like, yes, skateboarding. so that's really cool. It took 10 years, and now there's this other person in Montreal that's working to create skate dots, they call it. So it's kind of the same thing. So instead of a skate spot, it's called a skate dot. So they just like, they will put on purpose like a random marble ledge somewhere, or like a little jump somewhere. It's just there. You can sit on it here, but you can also skate it. So yeah, so they started creating it. In the US, maybe in California. Well, California is literally a skate park, the way it's built. So that's why there's so much skateboarding. Well, it started there, but it's also just the way it's built, and it's a very skatable city. So if there's a chance that this is happening in the US, it's probably more in California or in the South, where there's less rugged asphalt, probably. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Annie.
Yeah. Thank you.